Hello, and welcome to After Office Hours, the show where we talk to Hillsdale College faculty about their areas of expertise. I'm your host, Michael Lucchese, and on with us today is Dr. Larry P. Arnn, President of Hillsdale College. Dr. Arnn, it's great to have you on.
Hi, Michael.
So, my first question is, what do you think the biggest threat to the Republic is, and how can Hillsdale College help solve that problem?
Yeah, that's good. Thank you. So, for some reason, we have been changing our form of government for about 2 generations. That reason is an adoption of different principles and a different account of human life. So we don't live in a constitutional form anymore. We live in a mixed form, partly constitutional, partly just bureaucratic. And the government becomes a very large interest then. And every private thing, including Hillsdale College, faces all kinds of threats from that. So I think that's the biggest problem in America. There not being, as far as I know, an imminent war right now, major war at least. So that's what I think. And how can we fix it? Well, we're an academic institution with an old purpose to study all of the things that make up the laws of nature and of nature's God, and an old commitment to the Republic of America and its Constitution and its Declaration of Independence. So studying those things is a very powerful tool, and I believe that the problems we face today started in colleges, and maybe they need to be fixed there.
So, to what extent do you think that Hillsdale in particular and liberal education in general, how precisely can they help the Republic get back on track to that constitutional form of government you were talking about earlier?
Well, you have to kind of reorient your world, right? Liberal education, what that means is that it means that there are some ultimate ends that are higher than everything else, and everything moves in relation to them. Well, what is modern government except a statement that our will and our wants and our exercise of force upon nature and one another is defining of everything? It's a direct antidote. And since liberal education is a beautiful and compelling thing, if people can know it, we think that they will like it, and like it as an alternative to what we got going on in the college world today. And the testimony for that is the millions of people who attend to the work of Hillsdale College.
I know that there have been a number of incidents at schools across the country recently. Milo Yiannopoulos sparked some riots at Berkeley. Recently, Charles Murray was forced off campus at Middlebury, a smaller liberal arts school. Do you think that liberal education, you mentioned that the government in some sense threatens liberal education because the way that this post-constitutional government, it sort of attacks these private things. But do you think that there are threats from students, and how do you think we should go about combating those particular threats as a society?
Well, students, a lot of the horrific things that students are doing on campus are things that they have been taught to do by the faculty. What you're supposed to be in an academic setting is civil and approach things from an academic point of view. What we get instead is people shouted down, persistent disruption of discourse, demonstrations accompanied with violence, led by 19-year-olds who demand changes in the curriculum. They're being too young ever to have completed a curriculum. So where does that come from? Did they just think all that up? Or is there some teaching in the university that encourages that way of thinking? What if, for example, there's a professor, as there are so very many, who teach that fundamental to your being is whatever identity group you're in? Well, it follows from that then that the representation of identity groups would be the purpose of a college. And 19-year-old kids who are smart and energetic, they make that connection in about 5 minutes, and then they go demonstrate that we have to have these identity groups. And what they never get a chance to do is ask the question, is that really what the being of a human being is about? And if it were what it was about, could you achieve any objective understanding outside your identity group? Would you be, in fact, human anymore? They should be thinking about that.
So, I know that since you've become president of Hillsdale College, this place has flourished in the last 17 years now. Do you think that liberal education is on the rise across America, or do you think that it's just a sort of Hillsdale phenomenon, and why do you think that?
Well, it's not measurably on the rise across the nation. There are some places where it flourishes, and this is one of them. And I think it will flourish wherever people are serious enough about it. I know this, every month somebody offers us property to start another college. And if I had money and faculty running out my ears, we might do that. But as it is, it takes time to build. So I think of us as a vanguard. And I think these things work not because of me. I just happen to believe in them a lot and have found very many people to work with who do too, and who make me better in the effort.
There are other aspects of the liberal education movement that Hillsdale is involved with. I know the Barnum Charter Initiative has been promoting classical schools across the country. I know that recently Hillsdale is accepting the classical learning exam instead of the ACT or SAT. Could you talk a little bit about the state of those programs and the effect that they're having on contemporary American education and where they're headed going forward?
Well, the last thing is where they're headed. You know, the future, though imminent, is obscure, said Winston Churchill. I can tell you what the goals are. The Barnum Charter Initiative is born in the reflection that there's such a thing as a human being, and there's a way for it to learn. And so if you do that way, you're likely to have a lot of success. And so these classical schools, they are built around a contract based on 10 points. And the effective meaning of the contract is, if you will agree to pursue these 10 points as your central aims, we will agree to help you, free of charge. We don't take any money from the government, so we don't have any charter schools writing us a check for as much as 1 penny. Sometimes we give them money, but we give them a lot of services. And if you just think about it for a minute, those services take a lot of time and money from them, too. There's 16 of these schools now. And they're in various states of advance, but all of them show great promise, and almost all of them are highly successful already, and being pretty young. They have to teach Latin, for example. That costs money. It'd be cheaper if you cut that out. Why do they do that? Well, they want to know, and just like we do. So that is spread now to 16 schools, and best guess is there'll be 12 more or 14 more in the next 2 years. The goal is 50, and that's just because we just picked a number before we had any. You know, how many should we have? And I said one day, 50. Why? Sounded like a lot. I think we can do that now. And if you can do 50, who knows how many? It's a beautiful thing, because one of the things that's my favorite thing about it is that lots of faculty members here at the college have adopted this thing. And if you just think about it for a minute, the kind of learning it takes to be a high school teacher or elementary school teacher, it's serious. To be a college professor, especially in a place like this, is more. And you know, they don't, the ones who do the college professor thing, they don't necessarily know how to teach little kids. I myself have witnessed the very great Mrs. Raridan in my favorite of the Barney schools in Austin, Texas, run by my daughter. And she's the kindergarten teacher. And that's awesome. You know, amazing. You know, Pam Steiner is just finishing a long time as a successful kindergarten teacher at the academy. That's a kind of thing. What if you could unite that kind of thing with real help and instruction from people who have that other kind of thing in higher education? Well, there's a bunch of faculty members around here who are among our best teachers, and they're just all over this, and it's fun to watch. And teachers in the summer, high school teachers, elementary school teachers, I think there were 350 here last summer, and I think we're expecting 500 next summer. And why are they coming, right? They you know, I think they're coming for the beach. They're coming to learn. So that's very rewarding and inspiring to me.
Now that a Republican administration has taken control of the White House in Washington, D.C., we have a new appointee to the Secretary of Education role, Betsy DeVos. Thus far, what do you think of her performance, and what do you think she should do as Secretary of Education going forward to enable the sort of classical education that we've been talking about?
Well, I know her, and she's a fine person and has good convictions, and I have very high hopes for her time there. Our chief of staff is a graduate of this college. What's not to like about that? What do I hope for? I think you have to get rid of it, and there's a reason for that. How do you educate young people? Well, by the time you come here, Michael, the chief work is done with you and your teachers. And much the most important part of it is done in you. When you're younger, it takes you and your parents and your teachers. Those three things come together in the school. And the school should be the sovereign unit in education. And if it were, then the natural concern of parents or other people who love the child would tell more in education. But I think it's true that in public education there are more non-teachers than there are teachers employed. And in the Barney Charter Initiative, if you add everybody at the college who works on it and everybody who does administration in the schools, I think it's 4 or 5 to 1 in favor of teachers. So somehow you have to decentralize this thing again. And then, as I say, now people say, well, the family's broken up, right? And that's a fact. But here's another fact. If there's a 5-year-old child alive, somebody has sheltered and protected that child, or it would be dead. And so one of the arts is to find that somebody and let them be involved. And don't treat it, all of this, as a byproduct of expertise in a place in Washington, D.C. So I hope that what she will do is encourage reforms like school choice and charter schools that make schools sovereign again, that involve parents and teachers. Say something about teachers. My father was a high school teacher in Pocahontas, Arkansas. Found his happiness coming to do that. Today, he was an important man in the town. At his funeral, his students came, right? He was a symbol like teachers always are, especially in a small town. Symbols of wisdom and virtue, right? Highly respected man. Well, today, teachers live at the bottom of a big old bureaucracy. Shouldn't they be liberated from that? I think so. And so I hope that she will do those things.
I know that for a time, the Collegian reported that you were under consideration for the Secretary of Education.
If it was in the Collegian, it's just got to be true.
Can you tell us anything about that process? What did it look like? How involved were you? Can you tell us anything about that process, or are you under lock and key?
No, I'm not under lock and key. There was interest in me, and I was interviewed by the transition team, I was recommended by the transition team. And I told them that I would prefer not, that I had a better job than any job they could give me. I told them, and there are 3 or 4 people in places in the administration whom I know well and respect very greatly and feel obliged to. And I said, look, if you ask me to do something, dog catcher even, it's like conscription. I'll go do it, and I could take leave from the college, but please don't, I said. And then also, I don't know that it would be a good idea to appoint me to that job for the reason that it would, what did I just say, right? Did I just say get rid of it? And Donald Trump has said that, but not lately. And it may be that they don't want that fight. And I told them that I wasn't sure that I advised them to have that fight right away. Depended on a lot of things. So the main point is, yeah, I was honored to be thought of, and the people who thought of me, some of them are very greatly and well-known, respected and well-known people to me. So I was proud and relieved when it was over.
You mentioned that there are people in the administration that you know, and I know that the Collegian has also reported that there are a number of Hillsdale graduates, I think the number is up to 4 or 5, now working in the administration, and I know that a number of other Hillsdale graduates are working in other important positions throughout D.C. What effect do you think the college is having in Washington, D.C. right now, and what is the college doing to ensure that we continue to have that effect?
Well, the prime effect of a college is what? Learning. And the way the college works, it's actually a simple thing in my conception of it, and I think it's the correct one. Right? It's not what I think, it's what I think I see. The college is a very intense activity of learning. People come from all over the country to study here, and by the end of each term, the campus looks like a scene from The Walking Dead. Everybody's worn out, right? Very intense activity. Then that's beautiful, and it has a lifelong impact. Those 4 students that I know of right now working in the White House, but I wouldn't be surprised if there were not some more soon. I've had all of them in class. I love them. I know them really well. And I admire them very much, And I've watched them grow up, so I'm like their dad, too. Anyway, whatever they've learned here and in their lives, whatever you learn, because remember, you can't learn anything except you're working while you do it. You have to want to a lot. Well, they do that. And then they're one form of the radiation of the college all over the country. And there are many forms, and they do reach up to high places, and they always have. And now in the White House lately, because of the change, because we're an old-fashioned place and seem to have a better affinity with that kind of administration than the other kind. But they came looking for people from here, and they're still looking. And I think that there will be more, and I hope so very much. There's I won't say who it is, but there's one person who's got to be one of the most modest, self-effacing, and capable young people I have ever met. And that person is in a very high place in the White House. Who would I trust with such a job better than that person? But all 4 of them are just great. So, wow, isn't that fun?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being on, Dr. Arnn. You can follow the Hillsdale Collegian on our Facebook and Twitter pages and find more videos like this on YouTube and our website, www.hillsdalecollegian.com.